it. And I was making little mistakes or being slow on calls that I never used to be, even recently, even up until a couple of years ago. So, it was a decision I'm comfortable with. And the aftermath has really been reassuring because I think that most people see it in the big picture.
Here we go with the legendary Bob Costas, our friend joining us on Foul Territory right now. Bob, great to have you on. And what timing? Of course, we wanted to talk about you, but it's, somebody tried to kind of overshadow you with a bit of a contract shoved in our face yesterday. How you doing?
First of all, that's
what an
Bob,
outrage. How inconsiderate.
Bob, first of all,
knowing
Bob
that
got
I was going to be
700
on this morning, and then Soto and Boris just bogart me and push me onto the back page. I'm outraged.
Bob, first of all, this is what you got for each season that you did, $756 million. So, your contracts aren't made public. So when you were doing the Olympics, the NBA Finals, MLB All-Star Game, the World Series, Bob was cashing a check for a cool $700 million.
Right.
So you're doing all right, Bob.
Yeah, you won't have to throw a benefit for me, that's for sure.
So what do you think? What did you think when you saw the news about him being a Met and the size of the deal, all that?
Well, it's a Steve Cohen thing. He wasn't going to be beaten here, and he's, by all accounts, the wealthiest owner in all of baseball. And the Mets are in a different position, not than every team. The Yankees are similar. The Red Sox are similar. Yes, and SNY and Nesson. That's a huge source of revenue, even if he's not digging into his own pockets for every bit of it. Most teams can't match that. A lot of the RSNs are up in the air now. That's an issue within baseball. It's an issue that Cohen doesn't face because of his huge personal wealth and because of where his team is situated. And as long as Boris and Soto were going to take the largest deal and other considerations were secondary, and I'm not saying there weren't other considerations with the Mets. Apparently, Soto was very close to Lindor, and he's comfortable with that, all the other possible reasons. But if money was going to be the primary reason, Cohen was not going to be outbid.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. Look, Steve Cohen can do whatever he wants, Bob. Like, if he wants to go out and sign an all-star team, he can go out and sign an all-star. He can sign every free agent he wants. Because he just has to pay more.
He can take a loss, Bob. Like, this is a toy for him, right? This is not a business.
Yeah.
He can take a loss. It doesn't mean anything.
As Joel Sherman said on MLBN earlier, this is a guy who's a big-time art collector. Generally speaking, you don't do that with the idea that I'm going to sell this Renoir or Picasso at some point. You do it to gratify whatever your impulses are. You do it for the gratification of it or for the whatever you think the artistic value is. And he may be viewing this in the same way. But to your point, he now is obliged, and I don't think anyone has to remind him of this, he knows it. He's now obliged to do everything he can to fill in around Soto, to bolster every strength and to address every weakness so that he maximizes the number of times they at least have a chance to get to the World Series during these, let's be realistic, let's say next 10 years. At the back end of the 15 years, he may be paying an annuity at that point. But if he gets his money's worth in the first 8 to 10, I don't think Cohen will mind.
Hey, Bob, that leads me right into this question. And I'm curious. So, one, is this good or bad for the game? And two, when you talk about the fillers that they still have to go out and fill if you're the Mets, where do you rank the the NL East right now? Like, give me your power ranking and let me know if it's bad for the game.
Well, let's see where Max Fried winds up. If he goes back to Atlanta and Acuna comes back healthy, then look out for the Braves once again. And the Phillies are still formidable. So it's a 3-team race, but the Mets obviously have moved up. They're much more formidable coming off what they did in the second half of the season, left for dead on June 1st, 11 games under 500. And they, come within a whisker of making it, maybe not a whisker. The Dodgers handled them pretty well in the LCS, but they came close to getting to the World Series, and now they're that much better. So that makes it a 3-team race. What does it do to the rest of baseball? At about this time last year, when Ohtani signed with the Dodgers, all of us said, this is not a high tide raising all boats because he's unique. He's unique from the hitter-pitcher standpoint. He's unique from the standpoint that even casual fans know who he is. He's an international sensation. There's all kinds of merchandising involved and international television rights and all the rest. He is unique. And so don't bring this up to me if you're an agent or a player. Don't bring Ohtani up when we sit down at the table. However, with Soto, terrific player as he is, distinctive as he has star presence. Is he as unique as Ohtani? Plus, there were no deferred payments here as there were in the Ohtani deal. So suppose now agents and players come to their GM and say, look, maybe I'm not as good as Soto. I'll take 75%. Well, they can counter by saying, look, this is close to unique in this one respect. He's an established superstar on a Hall of Fame track, and he just turned 26. So at least for 10 of the 15 years that we just committed to, if he stays healthy, we're going to get our money's worth. And to a point that I've heard made over the last 12, 18 hours, this is going to cause more and more potentially great players to go the Soto and Bryce Harper type route. Now, Harper did it for a different reason. Soto, was coming out of the Dominican Republic, but Harper did a couple of years in junior college or whatever he did, and the whole idea was to get to arbitration and to free agency sooner. That's what improved the value for Soto. Maybe Bobby Witt could have gotten there if he didn't take a team-friendly deal in Kansas City. But don't you guys think a lot of agents are looking at this now and saying, the sooner we can get to this, that's what really bolstered this deal. Smack into not just the middle of the prime of his career, but by past history with other players entering the prime of his career.
No doubt. There's no doubt that's definitely what was. So, Bob, I'm going to ask you a personal question, okay? So don't get angry with me. Who's your favorite baseball team?
People say, they always think, talk to Joe Buck, talk to Joe Davis now, talk to anybody who's ever done the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, the World Series. Maybe the Olympics is the only thing that is outside that, because when I hosted the Olympics, almost everybody watching is rooting for the American performers. That's why Al Michaels, Do You Believe in Miracles, not only is a great call, but everybody watching was rooting for the same team. Everybody was happy. Nobody was disappointed. So all these bozo fans who think that every national announcer, hearing exactly the same words, fans of both teams think you're rooting for or against whatever team. That's not true. Growing up, I was a Yankee fan because I grew up on Long Island. The Dodgers and Giants had left for the West Coast before I became aware of baseball. The Mets didn't exist yet. The Yankees were always the best team. Mickey Mantle was the best player, so that explains that. Right out of college, I went to St. Louis, a great baseball town. I lived there most of my adult life. My kids grew up as Cardinal fans. I have an affinity for the Cardinals, but that's different than saying you're really rooting for them. I want them to do well, absolutely, if I'm not calling the game. If I'm calling the game, which I won't be doing anymore, but over all the years, if I'm calling the game on a national basis, this is different than being the home team announcer. You are just rooting for the best possible game. You want a close game, or if it's a series, you want a good competitive series with lots of dramatic moments. That's what you're rooting for. But you put the rooting aside and you do a professional job.
Okay, I just needed to hear you say the Yankees, because every person I talk to thinks you're the biggest Yankees homer in the history of the world. So now that your heart is broken,
a lot of people you talk to, AJ, a lot of people you talk to aren't necessarily stupid in a general way, but people with PhDs turn stupid when it comes to their rooting interest, and they define objectivity through the prism of their own insane partisanship.
True. So now that your Yankees lost Juan Soto, what do they go do? And what would George Steinbrenner be saying? George Steinbrenner's probably rolled over in his grave 100 times in the last 12 hours since this news broke. But what do your Yankees do now, Bob? Since the Cardinals, since you said you were a Cardinals, semi-fan, but they've already said we're not trying this year. So what are the team that you root for that's trying going to do?
Well, they've got a lot of money that would have gone to Soto that they can use in other places. I think Pete Alonso is off the table. Anthony Rizzo is gone, admirable player, but he's apparently gone. They got to do something at first base. You don't want another guy who profiles a lot like Giancarlo Stanton, great as Stanton is in October. You don't want another guy who's basically not athletic, another right-handed bat. Now, granted, Christian Walker, if they got him to play first base, is a right-handed hitter, but he's a different kind of player than Alonso, a more athletic player. Cody Bellinger has, as you know, an up and down career. but he addresses some problems. Cody Bellinger can play center field. He can also play first base. If they want to move Aaron Judge, a better player, all things considered, than Juan Soto, actually, if they want to move Aaron Judge to right field, which is the better position for him and spares his legs a little bit, then you want someone who can play center field. Santander is out there, hit 44 home runs last year. I don't know if he can play center field. He's a very good right fielder, and they could keep Judge in center field for the time being. And at Yankee Stadium, you would think that Santander would thrive. So that's a possibility. I heard Cameron talking about Alex Bregman. I don't know how many years you want to give him. He's a very good player. He's not the player he was, as Cameron said, in 2017, 2018, not the same player.
Hey, so Bob, I love your career. It's been such amazing time following it. You've seen so many different changes throughout the game. Here we are now at the pitch clock. We've got the disengagement rules. We've got bigger bases. Tell me your thoughts on this golden at bat, please. I want to hear it from you.
Well, I think that Commissioner Manfred has walked it back a little bit to say, look, we toss out a lot of ideas. And this is just one of the ideas that has been tossed out, and there's some buzz around it. That's different than saying, like, the robo umpire, which is definitely coming. It's on its way, and they're already testing it out. That's different than putting it in that category. It's an idea, and let's discuss it. And the first response to it, as far as I can see, is that it's overwhelmingly negative, that it would mess with the game too much. What I haven't heard yet is clarifications as to how it would work. Let's assume it's in place. Under what conditions is it in place? You walk Aaron Judge intentionally? Okay, we'll use the golden at bat right now. He's up again. Do we have the possibility of do we have the possibility that someone could become the first guy in history to homer back-to-back with himself? You're down by 2, he homers, now you're down by 1, we'll let him bat again. It's the 9th inning. Or do they put in a provision that says you cannot bat twice in the same inning unless the team bats around to your place in the batting order? You have to be 3 or more, let's say, your place in the starting lineup has to be 3 or more places removed from where you're used as the golden at bat. Can you only use it in the 9th inning and only if you're trailing? Or can you use it anytime you want from the 7th inning on? Just for the sake of parlor games, if it's in place, it offers a lot of strategic things to argue about and debate. Hey, 7th inning, we're up by 1. Bases loaded. Should we just use it right now and try and bust the game open? Or should we save it? Do you use it with nobody out and the bases loaded? Nah, we'll score anyway. Sacrifice fly, whatever. Use it with 2 outs and the bases loaded? I mean, it's interesting from that standpoint. Does it turn the game into kind of a video game and kind of gimmicky? Yeah, I think so. Outlawing shifts just reestablished what existed. The pitch clock, it's amazing how quickly everybody got used to it, and it didn't change the game. It took it back to where it was. The time of game this year, average time of game in the regular season, 236, was within a minute of what it was in 1984. Replay, generally, that works to get it right, especially in big situations. But this, I think, would mess with the game to an extent where, yeah, we can discuss it, but we better be damn sure that we know what we're doing if we put it in place. I know what people say. Look, the 2-minute drill in football, that's really exciting. You go to the 3-pointer if you're behind in basketball. But baseball has innings. It doesn't have a clock. The pitch clock doesn't change the nature of the game in that respect. So I don't know if you can say just glibly, yeah, let's create something in baseball that is the equivalent of a 2-minute drill or a timeout and advancing the ball to half court. You're going to try a 3-pointer down by 3 with 1.6 seconds on the clock. I don't know that there's anything that is really analogous in baseball to that.
Yeah, well said. It's a drastic change. It's different from what we're seeing. And I've loved a lot of what's been put in place lately. Okay,
yeah,
I want to
too.
spend the last few minutes, Bob, on the career. Because initially also we scheduled it. We were like, okay, let's talk about the decision to retire from calling baseball games. Scarlett actually in the chat, and there are many that offered some comments, said, can you share fan appreciation for Bob's hard work, sharing his voice on broadcasts? So can you take us behind the scenes of, what that decision was like, and also reflecting on, what you were able to call during your career?
Well, I think overall, my lifetime batting average is very good. But like a lot of good players, toward the end, your lifetime batting average or your last batting average doesn't match up to your lifetime batting average. I was hoping that this year I could end on a grace note. As I put it to someone else, maybe not a Ted Williams home run, but a Stan Musial single last time at bat. That's what I was hoping for. But no matter how it went, this was going to be the last year. And it didn't have anything to do with any outside noise or any outside legitimate criticism. I've really appreciated and respected the people who have said, he used to be really good at this. I've really appreciated it. He had a lot of great moments and a lot of great years doing it, but he's lost a step. That's true. That was my own assessment. And a year and a half ago, I told everyone involved, this is the last year, and I just hoped that it would end on a positive note. It didn't end exactly as I wanted it to, but I do think that perspective sets in pretty quickly. And it's been gratifying that once that announcement was made, so many people in the kind of legacy mainstream press, the newspapers or online or all the texts and emails that I got and people that I just encounter out at a restaurant or something, they seem to view it from the whole career perspective. And I think I did pretty well in that respect.
Oh, we all tip our cap. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So, well, let's, go ahead.
Scott, you said 2 minutes, and I don't want to go over. You got to.
No, you're good.
Schedule here. You got to. What really meant a lot to me, and I hope this doesn't sound corny. Through the years, I feel like I was a citizen of the game. I feel like I didn't just call games, but I did a lot of things, wrote things, did essays, interviews, even eulogies of Hall of Fame players who I got to know. And the appreciation that I felt, and it wasn't unique to me. I'm sure that Joe Buck felt it. I know, obviously, the greatest of all, Vin Scully, felt it throughout the years, and other people I've worked with. But I was among those who felt like I was part of the game, and it was very gratifying to me when I'd walk into a manager's office in recent years. And now I'm older than those guys. They're 50 and I'm in my early 70s. And they would say that, quote, I grew up watching you, or I followed you as I came up through the game. Having that level of respect and appreciation meant a lot to me. And I didn't want to disappoint those people or let people down, even people I'll never cross paths with, among the people who watched the games through the years. I just didn't want to let them down. And I felt like I was coming close to doing that. And I had too much respect for the game, for the craft, and for my own standard to hit that much below my lifetime batting average. Could I still be good in a given game? Yeah. Stretches of games, moments in games? Yeah. But I couldn't consistently do it. And I was making little mistakes or being slow on calls that I never used to be, even recently, even up until a couple of years ago. So, it was a decision I'm comfortable with. And the aftermath has really been reassuring because I think that most people see it in the big picture.
100%. Bob, first, let me say this. So I got three things for you. One, I don't even know if we had ever met before, but I was in Cooperstown 2014 for Frank Thomas's thing. I was in between teams, and you were sitting at the Otis Saga, and we sat down and had a conversation and yada, yada, yada. And that was like one of the coolest things. I was with my son, and I was one of the few, I think I'm probably the only active player that went from released to Cooperstown to playing again within like a 48-hour span. So to go from playing to sitting down with all the Hall of Famers and doing all that, and then getting to meet you and sit down and have a chat with you was unbelievable. And then I go to St. Louis, okay? And then you come in and you have to throw out your first pitch, and you come to me and say, I want you to catch it. I'm like, is there a greater honor? And for me to say Bob Costas.
Yeah, but you couldn't catch it because I threw it high and wide.
I wasn't going to bring that up. Okay? So just cool. And then the third
But I got it there. I didn't bounce it like a lot of these clowns. I got it
That's true. Again, I wasn't going results. I was just talking about the moment, okay?
Go ahead.
And then the third thing for me is I'm sitting at home one day and my phone rings. And it's an unknown number, and it's from, I think, St. Louis or wherever your phone number is from. And it was a voicemail. And I'm like, and I look and I'm like, who's calling me from here? And then so I check my voicemail and it's like, hey, this is Bob Costas. I'm calling you about Tim McCarver's, service, celebration of life in St. Louis. You knew him well. I'd really like for you to come speak. Can you call me back? And I look at my wife and I said, damn, I just got a phone call from Bob Costas. She's like, you better call him back. Damn it, you better call him back now.
Oh, yeah. So
I call Bob back, right? And Bob goes, hey, we're doing this thing for Tim, and we'd really like for you to come. I know you RSVP, you would come, and there's a who's who in St. Louis. He goes, I'm going to speak. Joe Buck's going to speak, and we'd like you to speak. And I said, Bob, who doesn't fit in here? Bob Costas, Joe Buck, and me. How the hell am I going to compete with you three? Right? So just to get that phone call from someone of your stature and place in not only baseball, but in the history of sports, as someone that grew up kind of when you were in your heyday, meant more to me than anything. And now I think we've become friends. And at that same time, you almost made me miss my plane because no one gets to the airport later than Bob Costas. And if you're ever offered a ride to the airport with Bob Costas, just say no and take an Uber because you almost made me miss my plane home. So from me and from my family, thank you for everything you did. It meant a lot to me. And again, to get a phone call, and people are like, who's the most famous person on your phone? If I'm like Bob Costas, everybody that I know knows who Bob Costas is. So thank you for becoming a friend of mine. Thank you for always coming on our show. And thank you for everything you did for not only baseball, but for the sport.
Boy, can't ask for more than that. Copy
right?
and paste that and send it to every media platform in the country and have that be the bottom line of all this. And I will die happy.
That's the respect from the players. We got to jump, but yeah, I think that's the perfect way to end it. And Bob, thank you so much again, of course, for joining us, and would love to have you back. We'll chat again soon, okay?
Scott, AJ, Cameron, thanks. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Same
You
to
too.
you, Bob. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. Have a great holiday. The legendary Bob Costas on FT. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.